Hey, I'm Ron Drodos from keyboardimprov.com, and today I'm going to continue my journey through the real book with the 18th tune. This is Apple Honey. I'm going through it in order. I'm going to go through all 400 tunes eventually, but I'm doing about one a week right now. And Apple Honey is kind of an interesting tune to include in the real book. It wasn't in the original years ago, but they've put it in since they've published it with Hal Leonard. It's a great tune. It's not really a jam session tune that people play though, but we can still get a lot out of it for a few reasons. One, it's a big band tune. This is Woody Herman and his Herd. It's sort of like this, the swing style of big band with, I would think, some bebop elements. That's how I'd put it. He had bebop players like Zoot Sims on tenor sax and people like that who were bringing bebop elements into the basically a swing big band. So sort of, to me, it encompasses both. It's not as traditional swing as Count Basie, but it's not completely as bebop as like a Dizzy Gillespie band, although they certainly got there at times. I haven't played this tune since I was in college, because like I said, it's not really a jam session tune, but it can offer us an insight into the big band style, and some of those elements can be played on piano in a really cool way. I played this in the jazz ensemble in college, where the saxes would play these like block chords things, you know. And you can do that on piano like I just did. It's very effective. George Shearing made it very famous in the 50s. Milt, Buckner, an organist, played like that on the organ. And you can also these sort of direct rhythms, like, or maybe octaves in the right hand, like. You know, those sort of simple riffs that are very catchy and repeated, sometimes with a little bluesy feel. Those are very effective, part of the swing tradition. And I wouldn't necessarily play those like on the previous tune, in my last video, Anthropology, another tune based on I Got Rhythm, like Apple Honey. But somehow, since it's a big band tune, it kind of leads me there sometimes. You know, it all depends on your personal taste. Now, I have to say, if Charlie Parker was playing this with a big band, which he did, there's some live recordings of him sitting in with big bands, he just played his usual bebop over it. So that works too. You know, you could play this. Very swing-like, melody with a little, like I said, a little bebop in there. But then on your solo, you could totally go to a bebop or beyond. You know, you don't have to sort of stay in the style of the original. It's sort of, everybody's got their own radar for that, how much you want to go towards the way the tune was originally done, or how much of what you like to bring to it, or find a balance, whatever you want to do. I'll probably do something in between. Respect, not even respect, just sort of be influenced by the original version or the big band concept. Give me a chance to do some things I wouldn't normally do, like some of those, block chords, or really get into the ba-bow, bow, bow, like a trumpet in a big band. But also, whatever I hear in my head, I'm going to play. Like I said, I haven't done this since college, so it's a lot of fun to revisit it. And another thing is that this is I Got Rhythm, changes. It's got a unique form to it, in that, or the melody playing over the unique form, in that it doesn't really repeat. The first section, A section, is a different melody than the second. And after the bridge, the last A section is even a different melody. It kind of always evolves, or it's through composed like that. It's unusual in that respect. Anthropology did not do that, whereas just by comparison, Charlie Parker's tune Moose the Mooch does do that. So you can develop your tune throughout the AABA form in a way that kind of disguises it a little bit. The bridge is the only thing that's a little different than standard rhythm changes, in that the second chord is not G seventh, but G minor. So it goes, then G minor. So when you're improvising over this, you kind of have to agree with the other players you're playing with. Are we going to do these changes, or are we just going to play whatever we want for rhythm changes, the usual ones? And again, I'll probably do a little bit of both, not really sure. So you can experiment. That's the good thing about doing a tune like this that you normally wouldn't play. It kind of forces you to think in different ways. So here we go, Apple Honey. I'll play a little big band type intro. So you see, it led me in a lot of different directions. Sometimes I was just playing the block chords, doubling the octave down the, doubling the melody down the octave, just like a saxophone section and a big band might. Other times I was playing a walking bass line with those block chords over it. Other times I just went to sort of bebop land. Other times I was quoting the melody. There's a lot you can do, and like I said before, when you're playing a tune like this that is a little outside your normal repertoire, or tunes you don't play at jam sessions too much, you can really pay to look at the original recordings or video, or listen to it a few times to get some inspiration from there. It can expand the way you think about music. If you haven't played in a big band, you might not have had that experience yet. So it's a good way to get into it, and that's one of the advantages to working through this book in order too, at times, because it forces you to confront those tunes you don't usually play. The only thing I'll share with you before the end here is a little insight I got, into this block chord style, because it can be tricky, when you're playing something fast, to hit a chord on each note. But I remember back in the late 80s, I was the assistant to Gerry Mulligan, who's a famous Barry sax player, probably the most famous ever. And he used to work occasionally with George Shearing, not necessarily play concerts, but they did some rehearsals, and they used to talk on the phone a lot. And I remember Gerry had gotten off the phone with George, and he had asked him about that block chord style. And what Gerry shared with me was very interesting, because Shearing kind of said, well, you know, you don't have to play a chord on every note. Some of them can be single notes, you know, make it easy for yourself, you know. You know, so you can gloss over some of them, and the listener still hears it as block chords, so you can try that for yourself. A little inside tip from George Shearing himself. So have fun with this, and then I will see you in the next video. Good luck with your playing this week.